What's up guys? So for today's video, I want to share my anime 3x3. Now this is not necessarily a top 9 animes or what I would say are the best animes, more so it's a collection of animes I've seen throughout my life that has left some sort of mark, or perhaps I just like to go back and rewatch a lot of the scenes from it. It pretty much encapsulates my taste, but not everything that I enjoy. For example, you may see a lot of them are the typical action or isekai genre, but I sometimes also enjoy slice of life, mystery, and mind-provoking animes. But for the most part, when I watch anime, I want to just shut off my mind and be entertained. In no specific order, the first anime on my list is going to be none other than Akame ga Kill. Kind of my earlier introduction to the ecchi anime, which led me down the path of watching shows like High School DxD and High School of the Dead. But you get the idea. Lots of people talk shit on this show, and it's actually a guilty pleasure of mine, and one of my personal favorites. The waifus were all extremely likable, and the action was intense and fast-paced. Each battle just got more intense than the last. Akame and Esdeath were honestly so cool and overpowered, easily some of my favorite waifus of all time. One of the common reasons people disliked the show was that the pacing was too fast, and too many favorite characters died too quickly, and I agree. This was probably due to a few possible reasons, such as maybe the show just wasn't doing very well in Japan, or maybe funding was an issue. Any of these could have been the reason that caused the anime to be rushed into extinction, but not to fear, there has been a prequel and sequel mangas that have been made, so I recommend checking those out if you're a big fan of Akame ga Kill. If you haven't seen this show, then you owe it to yourself to give it a try, and it has hot waifus and swift action, so what's not to like there? Next on the list is 7 Deadly Sins. Now, I know what most of you are thinking, that I'm a degenerate for watching High School of the Dead and High School DxD, and yeah, you're right, but you're also probably thinking that 7 Deadly Sins sucks. Their animation in their later seasons was so garbage that even fan animations on YouTube were better. And although all those are true, two things can be seen at once. The animation in the later seasons can be pretty subpar, but as a whole, the anime can be very enjoyable in a complete package. Even after finishing the anime, I still seldomly watch the clips on YouTube. I think the animations in the earlier seasons were great. I actually like the fact that many of the early characters like Guild Thunder look so OP compared to Meliodas, albeit Meliodas probably wasn't going full strength and didn't have all his power at the time. But then as the seasons went on, Guild Thunder turned into a complete pussy, and Meliodas was so overpowered relative to everyone else as the show went on. He was basically like Saitama from One Punch Man, so a lot of the earlier aspects I enjoyed about the show were turned off as the show went on. Nonetheless, the anime ends in a typical all-out battle between humans and demons, which the main villains and protagonists getting ridiculous power upgrades just didn't make sense, but it's cool seeing them break each other down. 7 Deadly Sins isn't the highest rated on many people's list, but if you enjoy stupid, mindless action with ridiculous power scaling throughout the show, then give 7 Deadly Sins a try. Next up is Hunter x Hunter. There probably aren't enough words I can say to describe how much I love this show. I've rewatched it numerous times and it never gets old. I love watching fight scenes on YouTube whenever it gets recommended to me. I like that the anime barely had any filler episodes, and if they did, it was pretty entertaining and introduced some new likable characters or backstory. The idea of Nen and how there are so many unique abilities throughout the show keeps things interesting, and you never know how exactly a battle will transpire. What I like about the show is that there are so many cool characters like those in the Phantom Troupe with abilities that we have yet to see. It's also rewarding to see the main characters Gon and Killua grow stronger throughout the series, but not overpowered, as there are still so many characters that they would lose to in a fight. I know the series has been on hiatus countless times, but I really hope the rest of the manga eventually becomes animated, as the Dark Continent arc looks pretty freaking good. I don't know if it'll be the Chimera Ant arc, but we'll just have to wait and see. The next anime on this list is yet another typical shonen, Black Clover. Instead of assassins, shinobis, demons, or humans with special powers, Black Clover offers that package in the world of magic and mages, where they battle with spells using their grimoires. I love this anime for its premise and the cast of characters, albeit it can be pretty generic for some people. The main character Asta, of course, doesn't have any magical abilities, however he does get his hands on some unique devil powers with anti-magic, making him one of a kind. His rival Yuno is of course the opposite, a prodigy genius who eventually becomes vice captain of his own Magic Knight squad. Now both of these characters become quite overpowered really fast, but that's okay with me since the bad guys also scale up pretty tremendously in power. Like Hunter x Hunter, Black Clover has a wide and diverse cast of many likable characters. One of my favorite characters would be Luck, as he's just crazy and always wants to fight all the time. I'm also patiently waiting for the anime to catch up to the manga, because boy oh boy does the manga get into some crazy action later on. If you haven't seen Black Clover, I definitely recommend it if you like shows like Hunter x Hunter or Naruto. Next up is the Dragon Ball series. The series has a special place in my heart as I grew up watching Dragon Ball and especially Dragon Ball Z, and then finally watching Dragon Ball Super. I love your typical protagonist transformation, and seeing characters like Goku and Vegeta surpass their limits time and time again is really a sight to behold. They have to save their planet from countless villains through the series, each threat more dangerous than the last. One of my favorite scenes of all time has got to be Gohan's Super Saiyan 2 transformation against Perfect Cell. Watching that scene even today gives me chills both from the English dub and the Japanese dub. Teen Gohan is one of my favorite characters from the series that I have a skateboard deck of him that I got from Zoomies. Now, starting Dragon Ball Super was also a very nice treat as the animation was newer, and this was when Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue was introduced. Honestly, so badass that they've attained the power of a god, and the tournament survival arc was so enjoyable to see given that the fate of the universe was at stake. Every time you think Goku has reached his limit, somehow, some way he manages to surpass them in order to protect his friends. I don't know how much more the writers can continue with the series before everyone is just overpowered, but hopefully the Dragon Ball series has many more years to it. Next up is a show that I've watched in the past few years, and that show is Kill la Kill. Now I know this show had existed for a long time, but for whatever reason I just hadn't watched it yet. So it was one day where I just wanted to turn on something in the background, but it turned out to be good enough that I had to pay full attention to it. The art style definitely reminds me of shows like Gurren Lagann. Despite the older looking art style, that didn't detract from my overall enjoyment of it. The show is pretty hilarious, and the protagonist is a funny, likable, rambunctious individual. You can't help but cheer for Ryuko as she fights against the world. I don't think there's many shows that are quite like Kill la Kill that provide the same vibe. Like Akame ga Kill, this show wasn't the most popular, but it turned out to be a show I thoroughly enjoyed. Next on the list is another show that surprised me in how much I ended up enjoying it, which was Danmachi, otherwise known as Is It Okay to Pick Up a Girl in a Dungeon? I'm just going to be honest, this show revolves around a protagonist who starts out very weak and quickly rises through the ranks and becomes strong very fast. It's just mindless fun and entertainment. As a gamer, the idea of dungeons and leveling up works great for me, which is a very easy to watch show. Throughout the series, Bell becomes friends with many likable characters, and the waifus are all fantastic. Eventually, he forms a party with a bunch of adventurers he meets along the way, and sets out on a quest to become the world's greatest adventurer. This show doesn't have too much filler, and with the nature of exploring dungeons, there's usually always some action. It's cool to see new characters that are introduced and see just how powerful an adventure can get. You can only hope to see Bell reach the top echelons someday, but currently he still has much to learn. I'm caught up on the anime, but recently I started reading the light novels, or at least the summaries. All I gotta say is, if the anime follows the light novels, then we're in for a treat. The 8th anime on this list is none other than Overlord. Now, who doesn't like a good old stereotypical isekai, where the main character is reborn in a new world? In this case, they were born into the world of an MMORPG. Now, like many other isekais, the main character quickly becomes overpowered, kinda like One Punch Man. So then other characters slowly get more and more representation, such as the servants serving underneath him, who also have crazy amounts of power. The main character, Lord Ainz Ooal Gown, is on a quest to see if any of his guildmates were also reborn into this world, and if so, where are they? For the most part, the show hasn't hinted at there being any evidence of other players being reborn into this world, but as you watch more seasons, the enemies Lord Ain's encounters slowly become more formidable, which begs the question, who can really stand up to Lord Ain's? And if there is someone that strong out there, could that be evidence of another player, perhaps? Who knows, and only time will tell. I have no idea how long this series will go on, nor will I know how it ends, but it's a decent show with likable characters. Last but not least is Naruto/Naruto Shippuden. Now I know if I had to pick one, I would probably pick the original Naruto, as that was what I started and grew up on. But Shippuden was entertaining as well. I started watching Naruto when it aired on Toonami, and that was one of the first animes that I had watched besides Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z. The idea of ninjas and jutsu were cool to me, and I was quickly drawn to cool characters like Sasuke and Rock Lee. Over the years, I kept up with the anime and played all the Naruto Storm games, and the show is honestly jam-packed of so many notable fights such as Rock Lee vs Gaara or Naruto vs Sasuke at the Valley of the End. I think the ending of the Shippuden was kinda rushed, but the show did a good enough of a job wrapping things up and setting itself up for Boruto, which I haven't seen yet. I hear lots of mixed opinions on Boruto, and I've seen all the memes about it, which probably hasn't encouraged me to watch the show, maybe because I don't want anything to ruin my lasting impression of Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. It could also be the fact that I don't think there would possibly be anyone stronger than Naruto and Sasuke at the end of Shippuden. I didn't think anything could realistically top that, but I know from seeing some clips of Boruto, there's definitely some unworldly enemies that they face. If you think I should watch it, let me know in the comments below. And that wraps up my anime 3x3. I hope that gave you guys some indication of my taste over the years. Honorable mentions would pretty much be every other shonen or isekai that I haven't mentioned yet. I won't list them all since it'll be way too many, but if you're curious about my thoughts on a certain anime, I'll comment on it if I've seen it. Based on my list, would you guys say I have good taste or trash taste? Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.